Hey, good afternoon. I am excited to have you guys with me today. My name is Kate Lambert, and I'm a Dorper and White Dorper breeder from Uptown Farms in North Central Missouri. And I'm excited to have some folks with me today that came all the way to Duncan, Oklahoma from Jackson, Wyoming. And how long did it take you all to get here?
17
A
hours.
17-hour trip. This is Rose Fisk and her husband, Bruce. And Rose and Bruce, along with your son Tyler, have been raising Dorper sheep in the Jackson Hole region for about 20 years.
Yes.
And have really got a interesting market that we want to be able to have a discussion about today. So Rose, you shared with me that the population, the year-round population in the region is about 10,000.
Yes.
But because of the parks in the area, you all go up to around 4 million visitors a year, which has really created an awesome opportunity for what you guys are doing with Dorper lamb in the region.
Yes.
So we're going to have a conversation today about the farm to table that you all have going on in Jackson, Wyoming. And I want to start for this conversation at the farm, because I think a big important part of what you're all doing is what's happening at the farm. So tell me, in what ways does your production practices look a little different, or how have they evolved to meet the needs of your market there in Jackson, Wyoming?
So one of the first things we look at is when you're starting with sheep is start with genetics. You need to really start with the quality animal to then get that quality product on the tail end. And so we always start with those good high quality type 5 full blood rams. And we use those both on our commercial flock and our full blood animals, just so we get that heavily muscled quality breed standard animal that then yields good quality meat. And because that's what Dorpers are for, is they're a meat animal. We're not raising anything else, so we need to make sure we have good quality meat.
So over the 20 years of supplying this market, you found it valuable that the breed standard and the typing really do matter for what you're doing in a carcass at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yes. The type 5 rams, it's just genetically, they're going to produce a much better carcass. And so we've always bred even our commercial herd to the registered full bloods that have been typed 5 by the South African judges.
Very good. And now you all, in your market, you have, we talked about all the people, but not just any people. You guys have a very high-end clientele in some regards that come and visit that area. Tell me about the production practices that you think are the most critical for getting to that superior carcass that your clients are expecting in the end.
So one of the big things is, of course, the genetics, but what Dorpers bring is, because they are a hair sheep, they naturally, well, there have been studies that claim they naturally yield a milder tasting meat. And in our experience, we found that our lamb is a milder tasting lamb. So that starts out to shape a lot of people's appetite, because many Americans, non-ethnic market, do not favor the heavily flavored,
Sure.
strong lamb that people associate with lamb. And so when they taste our lamb, they're taken aback by how mild, how tasty it is. And a lot of that comes to the breed itself, not overfeeding, not graining the lambs, not overfeeding them to be heavily on the fat side.
Gotcha.
So that they do yield that good flavor. Because as with, just like beef, fat is what gives it the flavor, and the fatter an animal is, the stronger that flavor profile will be of whatever species that is. So that makes a big difference on what the breed brings to the table, of, no pun intended, but how it tastes. And it does make a big difference. And we've had chefs, private consumers are like, oh my goodness, that's some of the best lamb we've ever eaten. And so, which is nice to hear from educated palates, from the chefs and those who travel the world to taste it and say, wow, that is a good product.
And a lot of the chefs will meet by them coming to the farmers market. They're there to procure the freshest vegetables and meats for their high-end clients. So that's where a lot of our contacts we've developed through the private chefs is because they originally came to the farmers market and met us.
And that really just has been a great avenue for you all, building really a secondary market, not just direct to consumer, but direct to a preparer who's then going to turn and sell it to a consumer. That's fantastic.
And if I could add, one thing we do deal with is, it's not just chefs in restaurants, but we have what they call private chefs. So these are chefs who will go do private events. They'll go to private homes, cook for a family of 10 people instead of a restaurant of 100 people.
Okay.
And so it's a very weird dynamic where we live at, but it's a market.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
we definitely utilize that and profit from it.
And I imagine that's a market that really allows you to be a price setter versus a price taker.
So it's interesting as we go down. Pricing is very tough
Sure.
because everybody thinks, well, we need to price it based on what the grocery store sells
Right.
it, or what Costco sells for, or what a wholesale vendor sells for, a hotel supplier. And the big thing that I just tell people, and what I've learned as we've gone down this path, is develop your prices for you. Don't base it on what the competitor is selling theirs for. Base it on what's your bottom line, what you have to make, or what there's a profit, what your profit is. But you're selling a quality product. You're competing against yourself. You're not competing against import lamb. You're not competing against wool sheep lamb from Colorado. You're competing against what you raise.
I love
and
that.
market that.
Yeah, so really encouraging producers to get out of that commodity space and
Yes.
create a product
Yes.
that is labeled and really a value add product for
And you're selling
consumers.
quality. You're not
Yeah.
selling quantity. So
That's great.
So focus on that.
And focusing on local. It's a local product. You know, and a lot of times we'll ask people, well, do you realize that the Australian, New Zealand lamb, we're talking it's shipped thousands of miles.
Right.
Okay, you're losing flavor, you're losing a lot of things there. People, not only the tourists that come to Jackson, but the locals, you know, they know the quality of our grass, the quality of our water. And so we're very value added in our product.
I love that. And talking about this, one of the things that comes to mind that I know a lot of producers trying to get in this space struggle with is inventory management. How do you all, Rose shared with me you're lambing once a year still.
Yes.
So how are you managing essentially a year-round demand with lambing once a year, and what does that look like?
So one of the big things that we've gotten away from, and we really persuade people to realize that they don't have to have fresh lamb. Frozen lamb is just as good, and miraculously it is. And it's many cases it's better from a flavor profile perspective. It's better to have it butchered, cut and frozen than to sit for weeks, months in a fresh situation,
Absolutely.
so-called fresh
Right.
situation, and it's not fresh, but they claim it's fresh. That the flavor won't be there. So you will lose a little moisture when you thaw it out, but not a whole lot. And so frozen lamb, we do vacuum seal. So that's the big thing is when you have your processor do it, vacuum sealing is very important. One, not only for the longevity of the product, but also for the appearance of the product. And I think we'll get into this a little later, but when you talk about you're selling a product, perception is very important. People associate buying meat to going to the grocery store and seeing it in the